Welcome back to InsideX episode number 7 and another banger coming your way. Lots of good stuff. And before I bring Galdi in, we're going to break down that show and, of course, his favorite segment, ARMA Rewind 2005 Regina. Some craziness. And I actually like this track, a clay-based track, kind of my favorite. A little dirt combo there and some great racing. Obviously, JSR, his last championship run before Dusty Klatt kind of took over the reins there in 06. So we're going to catch up with that, as well as the KTM social media check-in. We're actually going to do some of our brands check in with those guys and see where their social media lies, and that's going to be fun. And after we done that, we're going to go to the farm. We have 2 segments of the farm this week, so lots of at-track action, less in the studio, more at the track, and we know you guys love that. The first segment we have is a Cardo segment. I have been talking about this for a long time, getting those mics on us, talking to some riders, and I have a special guest coming in today. It's near and dear to my heart. You'll have to see, wait and see that. The other segment, we have Steve Beattie, and he gives us some amazing insight on suspension and just getting that GasGas, that number 48 machine, dialed in at the track, and just little tips and hints that I didn't know. I've been racing for years, riding bikes for years, and this guy tells me things in 2 minutes that I'm like, oh my God, that changed my life. So you want to stay tuned to that one. And lastly, we're going to talk about some series updates, mainly on the WMX and the premix side of things. I know we gave you guys the schedule of the Triple Crown, but we're going to give you those updates for the women's class and the premix class. Obviously, Ebro Dur want to defend another championship, and then Weston Rosina, brand new to that number 1 plate there, so he's going to look to defend that premix championship there. And both those series brought to you by Thor, and then FXR, obviously, with the premix there. So stay tuned for those updates, and stay tuned for the rest of the show. It's going to be a good one.
I will never stop. Would you want me to slow down? Would that make it easier for you? Or would you want the fight? The pour your heart into it kind of fight? Or should I stop working so hard? I know you'd want me to slow down. I know it would make it easier for you. But then the gate drops. I wouldn't be anywhere else. One goal, one vision.
Welcome back to InsideX, and joining me in the studio right now, Ryan Gald, the ARMA Rewind expert, we'll call you. And we're going to Regina this year.
Yeah, 2005 Regina. I'm not happy about this pick, though, because, well, I'm not in it. I'm not holding my mic. I'm not crashing. I'm not riding. So I don't even know what the heck to talk about.
Did you put in these picks? Who put in these picks there? Because we need.
I don't know who you reached out to.
We need that Galdi cam.
We got to call that guy up and figure it out. But actually, this is a good one because we didn't get a chance to go. I'm pretty sure it was called Moto Valley Raceway.
Yes.
I feel back then, and we didn't. It was always it was either a mud fest or super dry, or they watered it too much to make a mud fest, and that's what we kind of see in this episode here. And we got a couple really good crashes, some great passes, and a lot of some of the same names we've been talking about, and then some new ones coming in. But the American pool, unbelievable.
Yeah, especially in that 250 class.
Yeah, we'll see that there once we get to the results.
And this is getting to the end of the JSR dominant era. The 2005 was his last championship. We'll see him in this one, and then he'd have to battle the likes of Klatt and Fasciotti. And
I actually don't think he battled Klatt much.
No, he didn't. No. But we'll
get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that later on. But let's roll those clips.
Yeah, get into that ARMA Rewind here as we get ready to 05 Regina. Very cool atmosphere just outside of the city of Regina. Nice and easy for flights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, great.
And here we go, the 250 class starting up. And we can touch base right here. Whole shot KTM, brand new bike for that year. The 2005 just got their 250F KTM in 2005.
Were you riding, like I know last episode you were on the 125?
No, I was actually on a Honda 450 just back with the machine racing this year.
Oh, number 41.
Yeah, number 41. I love that bike.
Yep.
Third gear everywhere. Loved it.
Beautiful.
Third gear, jump anything, whole shot anything was amazing. Look at this, Fasciotti up to the start, but not a number 1 on his bike yet.
No.
We're still not getting the number 1. A little overwatering right there.
Yeah,
there's a bit overwatering.
Yeah, and I actually loved the Regina track because we grew up in the hard clay, and this just suits my style. So I've been out there a couple times to race it. Definitely fun. But Fasciotti, he was up front early, but I believe he had a crash or something. He wasn't in the results at the end.
The very cool thing about this track too, a lot of up and down. This is the Blair Morgan corner as they tattooed it over the years right there. And you can see it a little bit over watering again. But so many fun, flowy, pretty big too. Big jumps out here, up and down a valley. Like when you got here for the first time, I think it was 01 was the first time we ever came to this track. I remember getting there and I'm like, man, this is going to be amazing. And it turned out to be a mud race, which sucked. But it was just, you just watch the flow of the track and design it. Good shot of Klatt right here. He had just come off his first championship in 04. And just up and down hills. So much passing opportunity. But like you said, very clay, very ruddy.
Yeah, and the 01 you're speaking of, that's the year I rode it on the amateur day. I was still an intermediate rider, and it did rain out on the Sunday for the pros. So I got to ride it in good conditions. The pros got slammed with some rain. But look, I love that double there.
Yeah.
Flowy. And this class right here in particular, you're going to see in the end results, Klatt's working his way through, but you got Northrop in there. You got Teddy Mayer
right there. Yeah, Northrop and Mayer on the Richmond bikes.
So just so many Americans. Was it Tierney or
Nathan Tierney?
Yep, Tierney.
Yeah, Nathan Tierney was out there, and then of course, who was the Blackfoot teammate? Was Mariah? No, Mariah was 04. I think it was not Turbo Reef. I'm trying to think who the Blackfoot teammate now that year was for with Dusty Klatt.
Yeah, Vallejo's out there, and that's he's from Mexico.
Yeah,
Vallejo's from Mexico. But yeah, the end result of this first moto, I was blown away. It was Dusty Klatt, Canadian by himself, and it was U.S. and there was one Mexico rider, Vallejo, and the rest U.S. It was incredible the talent pool that the U.S. was injecting into the Canadian series.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how it works that way. A lot of the Canadian teams or guys that are hiring riders, they always seem to hire the guys for the little bike compared to the big bike. And actually, now that I think about saying that, I remember Andy White always telling me that it was easier to do it that way. And here's you were talking about like Mayer, Nelson, Northrop, Tierney. We didn't get to see them all, but all Americans underneath. Look at Dubé. Look at that jump out of the gate right there. He must have been dating the gate girl on that one. But he doesn't actually get the whole shot. He goes too wide. Lets Keith Johnson go by.
He felt bad for jumping that gate.
Yeah, he's like, he wanted to let him go. Oh, I think I jumped that gate right there, guy. I let him by. Keith Johnson, OTSF Suzuki. And there's a shot, number 5. That's Blair Morgan on another team. But this is actually Morgan Racing this year. Not Blair Morgan Racing. This is Morgan Racing right there. Oh, Blair hit neutral right there. I forgot about that. He almost throws it away, and it would have just, man, we getting plowed in with that 450 Yamaha back then.
Oh,
that bike
man,
weighed a lot.
so heavy. But there, and yes, you see Dubé on the KTM switching brands again as well. So, and this OTSF really, I know it had, was it Keith Johnson and Mike Treadwell.
Yeah.
But this year, I feel like with Graysick, you'll see him come on
I think
screen
Newf was on this team too, actually. Ryan Lockhart was on this team as well in 05. And Gavin Graysick.
Yeah, Gavin Graysick really came on the scene strong as a 450 guy. Obviously, we've seen him the year before on the 250 on the Kawasaki.
I think this round is kind of what sort of ignited the rest of his series. Right here, he does really good.
Okay.
And then here on out, he was like basically second to JSR almost every race, except for at Walton, the closing round. JSR got hurt. And he ended up being the king of Walton that year in 2005.
I do remember that. And he was just so solid on the bike. And watching these clips and stuff like that, he actually gets a little sketchy in one of the corners, and he sees the kid right here, right there.
Jays, whoa.
And he yells at the camera like, "Woo!"
I think he is the coach, semi-trainer of Brian Deegan's kid now, Hayden Deegan, actually. So he's still involved in the sport quite a bit there, which is good to see. Gavin Graysick, always a class act. He had some really cool rides over the years. Here's a shot of Evan Lawfridge, former 125 champ in 2003. And Doob's having a little problem there on the Aldo KTM. Not too sure what happened there. But
Lawfridge was a staple there for those mid-2000s.
Yeah, he was good. He was good up in the series there. Look, Ryan Lockhart 7th. Huffman back there. This is the year that Huffman rode the 450. So he switched.
Okay, so this is 05.
There he is right there.
Yeah.
This is 2005. He was on the 450. Like,
they went down.
Cartwheels into a lapper. See, the lapper was getting, you know what? That looked like the wind caught him. It was so windy up on top of the hill some of these days right there. And there's JSR right into your living room for the 1700th time in Canadian motocross.
Picking these guys
Billy
up.
Whitley out there helping his American friend. Billy Whitley right there in the the Cowa shirt walking away. Damon Huffman, and look at this poor lad.
Yeah, he's done for the day.
He needs a new beak. Yeah, he's looking a little beat up on that one. But JSR last lap once again coming in. Bringing home another victory. This had to have been number 25-ish or something at the time. Like it'd be a good stat to find out. We did the Blackfoot guys to see how many motos and overalls he actually won.
Yeah,
that's something that I knock ourselves on a little bit. We're not great at the heritage side of those numbers. I think it'd be cool to see that stuff. There it is, though. That brand new KTM getting another whole shot out there. And this was round 1 of the West, I believe, that year too. In 2005.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure what. No, you know what? No, they were Nanaimo. It was back in Nanaimo or Mission.
They came
Nanaimo.
across.
Yeah, actually, what? It was Mission. It was a huge mud race in 2005. So it was actually them. But Jimmy Nelson, there's Eric Vallejo you were referred to right there on the 23. He's on the Morgan Racing Squad. And Shea Bess.
Oh!
There's Nate Tierney. Wow, that was a big get off. Broke. I can't remember if it was both ankles or at least one.
Oh yeah,
he
was sailing.
Hooks the hay bale.
Roll the windows up. Roll the windows up.
Oh my.
Boom. Oh,
if he had landed on the downside, it might have been good, but he went
Way
full
too
crack on the landing there.
Those
wow.
hay bales. But yeah, you're saying Shane Bess, who is an amateur superstar. Shea Bess.
Shea Bess, that's how it was. Yeah, Shea Bess. Yeah,
Okay.
Amateur superstar for the Suzuki squad for years, and then found his way up to Canada.
Yeah.
And there's Vallejo.
He wins this moto, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he is. I think this is the pass for the lead right here. I think Vallejo's leading. There's Bess, and that's
Mare.
Is that Mare or Northrop?
67 Mare. Yeah.
So they're battling it right there, and then Clatton gets close, but runs out of real estate by the end of the moto.
So we see Nelson out there, and he stayed up here and won a couple championships.
That's right. After this year with KTM, the next year he takes Klatt's ride.
So this year in 05, Klatt wins his second championship. He has to move to the 450 class. The East Coast was won by Chisholm or
no, Willard.
Willard
Michael Willard on the new KTM. So a very good year for the KTM on all those shoes. KTM Andy White, FXR guy now, and team manager back then. Look at this guy's battling. Mexico versus the U.S. right here, going at it. Mayer and Vallejo were really banging bars. This section was wild. This is the full rocker section, concrete whoops coming in the track. Is another thing you kind of notice looking at it. Not a lot of signage.
No.
A lot more bush.
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
A little more openness to the tracks back then. Volunteers are hard to find workers. And there's a shot of Shea Bess right here. But look, there it is. Klatt right on the rear end. And last lap. This is it. Like Shea Bess is going for the win.
Close.
And I'm trying to think of the name of the team. It was the Fox Yamaha. No, because Shea Bess is wearing TLD in this thing. What team was he riding for again right now? I'm drawing a blank on that one. But, man, this is pretty cool. And people cheering, no shirts on beside there. People cheering him on in the Blair Morgan corner. This is it right here. The final turn, he would bring home a moto win for that Yamaha team. I want to say he wasn't a privateer. I can't remember who would have bought him out. And but yeah, he's wearing TLD right there, I think, right? Is that what that is? Yeah, TLD gear.
Yep.
And but anyway, cool to see Shea Bess come up
awesome.
and race it. Like you said, an amateur phenom. And back to the final 450 moto here. And look at that, KJ once again with that whole shot. The Suzuki's, the 450. Was this the first year of their 450 or was 04?
No, 05 was the first year.
05 was the first year of that 450. So once again, another great premiere for the brand. Suzuki doing good right there. And actually, I think the joke is that bike is pretty much similar to the one you can get nowadays. So
still kicking it.
If you're living the RM Army, your bike hasn't changed in a long time.
And those bikes, honestly, as the era of Carmichael, those were the bikes to get. They seemed like they were handling so well. Up in Canada, they were doing great with Graysick and Keith Johnson. And then down south, Carmichael had those things dialed.
Johnson would finish fourth overall at the end of this year. Look, there's a good shot of our buddy Ryan Lockhart riding the West.
Oh, he's on the Cowie there.
Yeah, on the Cowie this year. Yeah, Ryan wasn't much of a sticking with the same team.
Loyalty wasn't a thing.
No, he was a bit of a jumper.
The last 3 seasons, we've seen KTM, then Yamaha, Cowie, and then he went to the OTSF in 06, right?
Yes, that's right. He does stick with that team for 2 years. So he does stick with them for 2 years, and then he goes back to KTM again right there. But that's all right. We love the Noof, and he gives us some good stuff to talk about.
It's not his fault they will only give him a 1-year contract.
Well, you find the buck. He's got to chase the dollar out there for sure, right? You got to chase the buck out there. But
there's Simon Homans.
Homans, and I think is that Fascia? No, that's Lawford's charge passing him right there. So. Lots of cool stuff watching these things, seeing these old names. And Lawford's a former champion, could never make it happen in the 250 class.
No.
Never even won a moto, actually, which was quite a surprise for how dominant he was. Dustin Hayes on the 66.
It's crazy it didn't translate for him just to at least sneak a moto in there with how good he was on that 125 that 1 year.
Well, especially on a track like this, because I'm pretty sure you could cut anywhere. There wasn't much bannering and whatnot going on.
Yeah.
There's JSR coming up. Or no, this is Klatt. Battling right there. I can't tell that shot right there. It's too far away for the eyes. Decker, Dubé, Lawford's all up in there. And then there's a couple Suzuki boys. Once again, here comes Graysick. He was really finding his flow late in the year. I think this is the midway point at this round right here. There was a 10-round series back in 05. And Graysick on that number 16. He made it look easy. And and he jumped from the lights class to the 250 class, or MX2 class. We have so many names for it right there. But look at this, JSR bringing home another win. And look at that, he even threw a little whip out there.
Double fist this guy.
Again, the double fist of this guy.
That's like Marvin Muskin's Can. He does the double fist this guy.
Yeah, imagine how many bad dreams every other racer's had of him doing like this all the time, right?
Marco Dubé is burned into his retina. That's all he sees. There's the final results. But that's another ARMA Rewind. Going through the
ARMA Rewind! ARMA Rewind. Sorry.
Starting from the first one we seen in 99 to 2005. And honestly, it was like a light switch when those the talented U.S. riders came in that 2000.
And a lot more eyes on our series then, too. A lot more eyes.
Especially when you're bringing those names that were still big in the States. Like Shea Best was big coming at amateur. And
the TV show then was on Speed Vision.
Yeah.
Which is in the States, it was worldwide. So we were getting so much follow. I remember people talking to us from England and over Europe and stuff. So very cool to see. And
that Goldie guy, he crashes a lot.
No, I didn't get that much, Kyle. Come on, man. It was more like, where are you in this show? That's what they wanted to see.
But that is another ARMA Rewind in the books. We're going to keep moving along there. We're almost into that. Next one we'll be into that Clat dominance when the 450 Hondas came out. And I know JSR was so dominant on the 252 stroke. Then he had to go to the 450, and it just never was the same. And battling those young kids. So that is the end of the JSR double fist to the sky. From here on out, he's battling hard.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see him again.
Yep, we'll see him again.
We'll step back. It is a rewind. We're allowed to go back. That's what rewind means. That's cool, buddy. We can do that. All right.
But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more Inside X. Welcome back to another social media check-in, and this week it's been brought to you by KTM Canada, and obviously Jess Pettis, he's going to make his debut this year in that 450 class, as well as Cole Thompson trying to make another run at that Triple Crown Championship. But this week we're going to check in with a lot of our brands around the sport here, the brands that help us put this show on, Parts Canada being one of them, and there's a great shot. Brody Buchan, the flat track racer, he's back with Parts Canada this year, and he's going to be doing that series, Flat Track Canada. Hopefully they get started up. Last year, obviously due to COVID, didn't get racing, but this year he's going to try to get that championship back in the Buchan pits there. Yamaha Motor Canada, these guys are a great follow because they don't just do motocross, they don't just do off-road, they do it all. They do street, they do water, they do generators, they do everything. That's the Yamaha Motor Canada on Instagram or Facebook. And then obviously this show being brought to you by KTM, this social media check-in, and KTM, a great follow. And their slogan, ready to race. So it's always cool to see what they've got up their sleeves. Obviously we talked about Jess and Cole, and as well as lots of amateur riders running that brand. And Sebastian Racine, we know we've checked in with him before. He's going to be the up-and-comer. He might be racing pro this year, maybe just doing the premix, but stay tuned for that with KTM Canada. And Royal Distributing, these guys always having deals go on. They have flash sales, whatever. That's a good follow. Put them on notifications so you can get that right away. Jump on those 50% off, 30% off, whatever it is, those flash sales, no tax sales. But Royal Distributing, they'll ship right to your door. They got an awesome online store. The next on my list, GasGas. We just got done with that GasGas bike, that 450, trying that out. Awesome brand new to the motor. Well, not brand new, but they're bringing it back. They got that KTM package. They switched to red, so they're good to go, and a cool brand to keep an eye on. Obviously, Justin Barsha in the States. We got Sam Gaynor and Logan Leitzel here in Canada, so keep an eye on those guys, as well as Sims Racing as that new team takes off this year. Next is ARMA, and these guys not into Canada yet, but I'm sure you can order it just like anything from the States and get it to ship to Canada. But these guys always coming out with some cool products, and they have some new blended drinks there to keep us hydrated through the summer. We can't wait to test some of this stuff once it lands. Obviously, there's a lot of red tape to get the stuff into Canada, but it should be here soon. Hopefully this summer we'll be good to go. And then M7 Graphics. These guys do everything. Look at that. That's a nice sled there. Sleds to bikes to road to to dirt, whatever it is, they got it all covered, and they are going to get you a graphic up. The last on our list is the Husky brand. Husky brand, obviously KTM GasGas and Husky, part of the social media check-in, and keep an eye on them. We just seen that Carlson Racing not going racing this year. They are going to be with their guys actually switched over a couple teams with Carlson support. So we don't have a pro team, but we have a lot of amateurs out there. So keep an eye on those kids racing Walton Transcan or the E-Can there in Deschambault. But that is Husky brand, and that is the social media check-in. Obviously, keep up with InsideX on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we'll be giving you lots of updates and keeping track of all the other social medias out there. There's so many, and it's such a cool era to live in. Back when I grew up, it was maybe a newspaper or something like that, but now we got instant access to everybody's racing career, and super fun to follow along. But that's it for social media check-in. I'm actually going to head over to the track. We got a cool Cardo segment coming up. Welcome back, guys, to another segment here on the farm. We're on another property. This is my brother's track, and this has been in the family for many years. This segment here brought to you by the kind folks at Parts Canada. Only the best for us here at InsideX. And today, we're going to be testing the Cardo systems. You know, I've talked about it a lot on the show, how these things are handy, not only at the pro level, the amateur level, but the beginner level. And today, we're actually going to be testing with my daughter. She's 10 years old, brand new to the sport, less than a month on a dirt bike. So this system was introduced to her right from the time she jumped on a bike. So the Cardo system, just a couple facts about these things, you can actually link up to 15 of these units together. So if you're a trainer or a coach, 15 of these units can be linked together, and that's through the DMC, the Dynamic Mesh Communication System. And it's 1.6 kilometers is the distance that these things range from. So any dirt bike track isn't, you know, that size. So you got lots of room to work with, especially for, you know, trainers that have a big track. You're way back there. You're going to link up to these systems all through a nice headset for the trainer. So here's the nice packaging that comes in. 2 of these come in a pack, the Pack Talk, so you can ride with a friend, you can communicate with helmet to helmet, or your trainer can use it, or mom and dad teaching. So a little background on my daughter. She's 10 years old, just started riding, and her first time, literally just trying to do a circle, and now she's riding a full track, and this is how I've helped her train and learn the proper way. All right, look ahead there. Nice work there, Gracie. Okay. All right, remember to stand through the rollers, okay? There you go, perfect, that looks great. For me, I don't care if she ever races. I just want her to be safe on her motorcycle and just enjoy the sport that I love so much. So got this Cardo system. Sometimes I'll ride behind her and show her technique as I pass her, or I'll sit on the side of the track like we're gonna do today, and she's gonna just learn from what I have to tell her on the bike, so she can on the fly learn. I don't have to stop her and tell her how to do a corner, do a straightaway, hit some jumps. I can just tell her as she's riding. So it's instant correction for those of you wanting to teach your son or daughter, or if you have a bunch of trainers or a bunch of kids that you train. So as a trainer, this headset, this is a demo from Cardo, but you can use any headset that has a microphone. The iPhone headphones work with this, but this already comes with a connection there. Click it in, pop it in, and I'm already talking to Gracie there. So very seamless. It goes right to her helmet, and you can sit at the side of the track with this. You ready to do some training?
Yes, Dad.
All right, hit that track. All right, stand all the way to where I am, Gracie. All the way, then put that foot out. Put that foot out, nice, on the throttle. Good job. See, guys, it's so easy to do adjustments on the fly. If there's a trouble area, it's nice to be in that position and tell them, like, hey, sit to here or whatever. But I could be sitting over there in the trees and tell her, you know, exactly what she needs to do, and she fixes it like that, just like that roller segment. So here she comes again. I'm gonna wait for her to come around here, and make sure you're standing all the way to where I am, Gracie.
Okay, Dad.
And then sit. There you go. Nice job. Very clean. And there you have it. The Cardo system's in work on the fly. I've talked about it a bunch on the show, and there you have it. A brand new rider, Gracie, less than a month on the bike, and she's riding out there looking like a pro. And that just shows you how handy these systems are. I can do it on the fly. I don't have to stop her and tell her things. And you can obviously pick these up at Parts Canada dealers across the country. And one thing I want to leave you before that, I know Gracie has some friends riding with her. We hook up these Cardo systems to their helmets. They can be best friends out on the track, talking the whole time, telling each other, hey, I'm gonna pass you here, I'm gonna pass you there. And it's just safety and fun for the whole family. And that is it for the Cardo systems. We're signing off here at InsideX. Welcome back to the farm. We're out here and we're at a different property today. It's a little bit of hard pack, it's a little bit of sands, a little bit of loam, and I got the suspension guru himself, the WP authorized center, 26 suspension, Steve Beattie. He was on the show earlier helping us with Rude's Garage, and now he's here. He's gonna help me set up this GasGas, which is right out of the box, right off the showroom floor. And Steve, you know, grabbing this bike, stock, what can a rider do on different levels? Obviously I'm a vet rider now, a little bit slower pace. What can I do to set this up better without jumping right into the forks or shock?
Well, right away the GasGas and say a 250 package comes out of the box pretty much designed around a rider that's maybe 160 to 185-ish. So you're in that, you know, at 170, you fall right in that range, Kyle. So what we would do is more or less check the sag. So we'll put you on the motorcycle and we check the sag and we make sure that the spring's set so that the sag's in the right range for your riding ability to the track that you're gonna ride. Obviously we're gonna change that if it's hard pack. If you go to Gopher Dunes and it's sandy, we're gonna, give the motorcycle a little bit more sag, drop the back, maybe a little bit more air pressure in the front fork. This WP front fork is unique to where it's an air chamber in one side and all your damping in the other. So, to adjust spring rate for the front fork, we adjust it with the air pressure here.
All right, now, being that we're here at our home track, we got lots of room to work, but for somebody that doesn't have your knowledge, obviously I'm very lucky to have you here, what can they do? Can they call somebody? Can they read this somewhere where they can make those small adjustments just to make it better before jumping into a full teardown? Yeah,
for sure. Even if you look on this side of the fork, which you can't see in the camera, WP has a sticker now that gives you a range for all their motorcycles as far as I think it's from a MC125 all the way up to the 450 here, and it tells you what they pretty much want for the stock pressures based upon what I just said around the 170 pound rider, and then you can adjust that accordingly. That if you're 140 pounds, then you could lower the air pressure. About 140 pounds, we're going to have to probably change out the rear spring rate to match the front and back to make sure the bike stays balanced.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's jump into and like you said, do the sag on this motorcycle, and then we'll feel how that feels from there, and then we'll do the other adjustments to the forks.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to check the sag for Kyle. I use a sag scale. It's just a quicker method than using a tape measure, but if you're at home, you don't have a sag scale, you can just use a tape measure. You can also look in the owner's manual for the GasGas or any of the under our umbrella of the KTM or the Husky brands. The manual shows you the methods of checking from a set number to 0 to get your 103 millimeters of rider sag, or 105 or 108, whatever we're trying to achieve depending on the surface of the racetrack that we're racing on. So right now I'm just going to 0 this to a spot on the fender, and then we're going to have Kyle sit on this here.
I got a question for you while we're doing this and I know you always ask me to put my gear on, and what is the reason behind having your gear on when you're setting the sag?
Well, we want it, actually we're going to get you to put your helmet on too, Kyle. Okay. Because we want all the weight exactly like when you are going to be racing the bike, or riding the bike.
So it's a lot more weight for a rider when they've got their boots on? Obviously these are heavier.
So I've measured gear quite a bit with some different riders, and an adult rider pretty much in today's standards of, you know, an A-Star boot, Thor gear, A-Star helmet, you're wearing about 20 pounds worth of gear, but maybe 18 to 20 pounds. So we always ask the rider, you know, what do you weigh in shorts in the morning? And then I take into account the gear. And you know, if you've got an off-road rider, you've got to think, hey, ask the question, do you wear a Camelback? Do you have extra, you know, are you wearing extra weight for your off-road bike? So you take that into consideration when you make the final adjustment for the rider's weight. So
good to know.
So what we're trying to achieve with the GasGas today and the WP setup is we're shooting for this style of track here today around 103 millimeters of sag. Right now we're at 106. So we're gonna have to throw it back up on the stand, Kyle.
Another question I have for you while I got you doing the sag is, I'm around 5'10", and say a rider same weight as me but is maybe 6 foot, something a little bit taller. Does that affect the sag? Are you going to set it up different for a taller rider same weight, or is it just weight based?
No, it's weight based, but it's a good question because, you know, that guy that's got 5 inches over top of me, you know, 5 or 6 or whatever, 7 inches if he's 6'6", he has a lot more weight distribution front to back when he leans up and leans back. So we take that into account, you know, as far as the setting that we might have to do internally if we were going to go do something inside the shock for, you know, an aggressive rider. And everything that you can gather for information from a rider, you ask them, are you aggressive on the throttle? Are you a smooth rider on the throttle? That's going to change whether I want to make the shock a little bit more aggressive and stiffer. So if that guy wants to smack the throttle, then the shock's got to be able to hold up so the bike doesn't want to wheelie everywhere. If you got a guy that's very smooth like yourself, you catch a gear soon, you can always get away with a little bit softer suspension package that's going to work better because you're not that crazy aggressive on the throttle. You still make the bike go super fast, but you have a different way of doing it than somebody that smacks the throttle hard.
I appreciate that. You saying I'm fast. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we know. Okay, so on this particular model here, it's got a 4 millimeter Allen key to loosen off to where we can adjust the sag. On some of the Japanese models, they have a double lock ring, so you have to tap the lock ring. Now, in this case here, I try not to ever, you know, use a hammer and a punch. This is all clean, but I would lubricate this with some, you know, WD-40 or something like that. And then as I'm gonna adjust this tighter, I'm just gonna come in here like this, and I'm going to spin the spring with a little bit of leverage against the frame until we get that spring tightened up to where it's going to be at 103. Now, everybody always asks me, they get confused. If I need to go to a number from say 106 to 103, what do I do with the spring? Well, you've got to tighten the spring in order to lift the motorcycle up and change that number from 106 to 103. If we were shooting for say a sand track where I wanted to say 110 sag, then we would back the spring back off and let the motorcycle sit back down. Okay, let's double check. Yep, 103.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, sag's good. So what I originally did, which you didn't see, is I double checked the clickers to make sure that we were in a neutral position as it came out of the crate. And then we adjusted the sag from there. So the next thing we would do is probably put Kyle out on the track, and then I'd watch the motorcycle for a little bit. And if I needed to make some fine-tuning adjustments from that neutral setting, you've got your compression assembly here, which is your clicker of your low speed, and your high speed on the outside is a 17 millimeter hex. The rebound control for the shock absorber is down here, and again it's about 27, 28 clicks. For the fork, like I said, this style of fork, everything's on the right side. This is just your air pressure, so your spring rate. This side would be your compression, and the rebound adjustment is down below here on the fork.
Okay, and you know, being on the show and knowing that we're testing these things now and trying different things, for a rider, we talked about the height, the weight. What about a shorter rider, maybe a ladies rider that's around that 5 foot, 5'2", but these are too tall, they can't touch?
Yeah, it's Kyle, it's often brought up with me, and yeah, I'm 5'7", so I'm borderline of being able to ride a bike this height. You know, comfortably I'm okay, but I get somebody that's maybe 5'7" with a shorter inseam that's not comfortable. Lots of woods riders ask this to be done. So they're like, how can we get this bike lower? We can internally go in. I have to take the shock apart. I have to take the forks apart. It can be done, and we can get about maybe maximum of 3 inches of travel taken out of it. So from about a 12-inch travel motorcycle down to about a 9-inch travel. And like I said, it's not super easy, but internally we can go in and make the adjustments, and it's done completely the right way.
Yeah, and it's one thing I've learned since racing, you know, amateur into pro and now a vet rider. Like these bikes for me, I don't need any hop-ups. I just need my suspension feeling comfortable so I'm safe on the motorcycle. And I think that goes from when you're a little kid all the way till you're my age, and everything in between is the most important thing on a motorcycle is the suspension.
Yeah, for sure. I tell everybody, there's, you know, in my eyes, there's 2 things that are super important on a motorcycle to make you feel comfortable and safe. The very first thing that's in contact with the ground is your tires, right? So you need good tires. Without good tires, I can tune on the suspension all day long, and you're not going to get any feedback if your tires are junk. So good tires come first. Secondly, dial in the suspension for your riding ability, for the tracks you're riding. And other than that, man, these brand new motorcycles, they're amazing from there.
Yeah, the power, like obviously we tested the Yamaha, the GasGas, the power on them, amazing. I feel like you don't have to do anything, but yeah, just getting that suspension to feel, you know, more comfortable. You're gonna be a safer rider, you're gonna be a faster rider. And that's for all you kids at home looking for those motor mods, looking for that fancy pipe. Get the bike out of the box, get that suspension, get those tires like Steve says.
On a 450, it's the last thing you need right now is more power. They've got tons of power out of the box. Dial in your suspension package and off you go.
All right, Steve, well, thanks for that. We're gonna jump on this bike and see how she feels. All right, well, just did out, got some laps in there, had Steve watching me, and one thing I didn't know until now is Steve was out there using his cell phone, videoing me. He pulled me off and showed me that the front end is too soft, but that brings me to a point for you kids at home. You have a buddy, you have a cell phone, video yourself in that slow-mo, and it was crazy to see. It didn't feel like it for me, but you could see how much of the front end was soft, Steve. So the WP suspension, they come with an air pump. You've already got hooked up there. Yep. You're gonna make some adjustments there.
Yeah, so we just hooked up the air pump. And what I do lots, Kyle, with your brother and you know, Jess and everybody on the team, is when we're testing, we do lots of slow-mo video with the iPhone. It's awesome. You can catch it on entry, you can do it on jump faces, wherever, just certain spots where you need to try to figure out what the bike's doing, and you necessarily can't see it as easy unless you do the slow-mo. And in the slow-mo, it comes very, very evident right away that right now I just watched you, the dirt's very aggressive after the rain here. You can brake pretty hard into this corner, and I was watching that the forks weren't recovering enough that if we had some big braking bumps on entry here, you were gonna get a kick. Some of the time, the riders will come and say, hey, Steve, the bike's kicking like crazy. There's either 2 reasons for it to kick. It's either too stiff in the rear end and it can't absorb the bumps on the way in, or like I was just saying, and what we did with the slow-mo video, is I can watch that the fork's a bit soft on air pressure and it doesn't recover quick enough, which is the spring rate. So it doesn't have enough spring rate to recover quick enough that by the second or third bump in, the forks are too deep, the shock has no pressure against it, and it's gonna kick naturally. It has to kick. So what we're going to do here today, right now, is we're going to pump this back up about 0.3 bar.
Okay, and while you're doing that, is this something that for WP users of the air fork, is it something they should check every time they go riding? And it probably changes from track to track.
Yeah, for sure. We're not, we don't see that your air fork loses tons of pressure. That's pretty awesome that way. That I don't really suggest that you need to check it every time you go riding, but it wouldn't hurt to check it every week or couple weeks type of thing. I mean, if you're riding a ton, then yeah, every 2 or 3 rides, double check that it's where you want it to be set. Again, your guidelines are on the sticker, and then you can adjust from there depending on your rider weight or just the plushness of the front end that you want. And that's what's really cool about this air fork is even as the day progresses and the track gets bumpier and rougher and you're like, oh man, it's really beating up my hands. Well, you can go in here and take off a couple pounds, just by 2 or 3 pounds. You're going to notice it in the handlebars for sure. You're going to just notice it. You're going to, regain some front wheel grip, and it's a little easier on your hands.
Well, there you have it. We've made a bunch of adjustments. It's a lot more comfortable. I'm going to hit up another ride here. I appreciate Steve coming out and making these tune-ups. And Steve is our guy for WP, and he's the guru of suspension around here. He doesn't just do the GasGas Husky KTM. He also does all the other brands too, the Japanese model. So hit him up there. The info below. It's Steve at 26suspension.com, and also on the Instagram 26suspension. You can hit him up with a message there, and he's your guy. He'll take care of you. He took care of us today at InsideX, so I'm going to do some more laps, and stay tuned for more InsideX.
I will never stop. Would you want me to slow down? Would that make it easier for you? Or would you want the fight? The pour your heart into it kind of fight? Or should I stop working so hard? I know you'd want me to slow down. I know it would make it easier for you. But then the gate drops. I wouldn't be anywhere else. One goal, one vision.
And that is it, another episode. But before we go, we got some info to give you on InsideX here. Obviously, right off the bat, we got that mini bike race that's coming up. It's set for May 29th now. And that's the Ontario restrictions pushes it back again. So unfortunately, it's going to be pushed back into June. It is going to go off. This race is not getting canceled. It's just getting postponed. So look for that date soon. Anybody that signed up for that will get an email in their inbox letting them know the date and just the different information that they need to race that event. And it's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. I think there's a lot of fast riders that race pro motocross or intermediate or whatever. And it's going to be bar banging action. It's all going to be on Flow Racing app. So get that app and you're going to tune in because that's where the Triple Crown is going to be. That's where WMX is going to be, the Premix, Parts Canada Amateur Open, Walton Transcan, Flow Racing app. And those guys are just pumping out the content here, and especially Canadian content and lots more. They're going to work with Jetworks here, and we're going to just get some awesome race action on their app. So check those guys out. Rude's Garage this week. You didn't see him, but that's because we're holding back. We're going to go to the track. Had a nice photo shoot with those guys. That bike is ready to be tested and see how that thing turned out. Obviously, you guys got a little sneak peek there as we exited the last episode. But Rudes, he's just getting limbered up, ready to take on that 252 stroke. Obviously, going to have some very good power under that hood. But lastly, I'm going to just talk about some series updates. As of right now, the Triple Crown starting July 2nd and 4th, that first weekend at Walton, and it's Walton 1 and 2. And the 15-minute motos, the round 2 will be cool. The 3 15-minute motos for the 250 and 450 Pro. So those are going to be sprint races for those guys used to the 30 plus 2. They're going to be at 15 plus 1. So exactly half the race they're used to. Exciting to see that. The series updates I want to give you today is the Premix, which is brought to you by FXR, and the Thor WMX. They are going to have a 5-round series, and it's all going to be 2 moto format, just like they're used to, the 15 plus 1. and that's going to start Walton 2. So that'll be July 4th. It'll start at Walton. They'll have their 2-moto format. And the next round, there'll be a Gopher Dunes on the Sunday. So Gopher Dunes will have the second round for the WMX and the Premix. Then we head to Ottawa, Sand de Lee. We're going to get a variation of tracks here. We start the clay, the deep sand, the loam, and then we head to Deschambault, Quebec for that Sunday race. And that's after the ECAN. So you girls or you guys riding those 2-strokes, you can head over to the ECAN, race that week, and then jump on the weekend and battle it out for that championship. The last round for WMX and Premix will be the Sunday after the Transcan in Walton. So you'll get 2 times at Walton. And you can, again, go to the Transcan, battle it out during the week for the amateur titles, and then finish up the championship for Premix and WMX. And that is going to be a great series. You got Ebro Dur. She's a 5-time champ, looking for 6-time. And then Weston Rosina, he got his first championship in the Premix class last year. Nathan Bless will be looking to come back after breaking his ankle there at the Walton round in 2020. He's going to be looking to come back and steal that number 1 plate away. I'm hoping Sebastian Racine's out there. Gurley, he raced great last year. The Roberts brothers, both really talented there at the Walton. And then obviously in the WMX class, lots of great racers. And I got teams from Manitoba coming out, teams from Alberta. So lots of different girls teams, women's teams there coming to race the series. So stay tuned for those racing. And again, that's on the Flow Racing app, and it's going to be fun. I believe that Fox Sports and Rev Canada are going to pick up some of the post-production stuff for those classes, but nothing totally nailed down. Everything you need to see is going to be on the Flow Racing app there. But that is it for the series update. Stay tuned for episode 8. We're going to talk to Rudy's and get that bike to the track. We also just picked up a KTM 350, so stay tuned for that. We're going to try that out, maybe compare it to the 250, because I get a lot of questions from vet riders, and I think it's a perfect vet bike. I've had a couple laps on it so far, but we're going to have at the farm segment testing that out, and we'll compare it to the Yamaha 250, maybe put the 450 in there, do the trifecta, and just to see what the perfect combo is. But so far, I love that 350. Thanks to KTM for sending that out there. And we got some cool new segments coming out, and that's going to be the Royal Unboxing. So stay tuned for the Royal Unboxing. They're just going to send us some stuff. We're going to unbox it, and then we're going to go test it at the track there and see what it's all about. So stay tuned to that. That's going to be coming up episode 8 and beyond. But thanks for tuning in. That is another episode of InsideX in the books, episode 7 done and out. Thanks for tuning in, and catch us next week.